We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends. We're going to be chatting it up with Scott Reichel, who does amazing work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to take a look at, now that we're getting very close to Memorial Day, some of his takeaways that we've seen thus far this season, maybe a team or two that he thinks might ascend/decline in the American League, as it's been a big giant mess out there. We're also going to be getting his thoughts on what we've all got on the card for Thursday, and then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to throw those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, there's they mean does not matter. So, as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via the 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Aaron Nola continues to be awful. The Phillies, they fall to the Cincinnati Reds by a count of 9-4 for Nola. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Bullpen wasn't any better. Orion Kerkering and Tim Meza, they combined for 2 innings. Meza gives up 2 runs. Kerkering gives up a run of his own. Brian Keller, a shutout inning, and then Jose Alvarado, he gives up a home run to cousin Sal Stewart, 12th home run of the campaign. He gives up 2 runs in his inning work. Andrew Abbott, 2 runs, one of which was earned in 5 1/3 innings. Seems to be turning a corner as Alec Bohm, 2nd home run series, 5th of the season. Then you did have Omando Sosa be able to get his 2nd home run season. That comes off of Brock and Rollberg, gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. But Connor Phillips, Sam Moll, Graham Ashcraft, they're all able to lend a scoreless inning, and then being able to lend quite a few scoreless innings as well. How about the Minnesota Twins? They take down the Houston Astros 4-1. This Astros lineup just has not been the same without Carlos Correa. Mike Burrows, 4 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, gives up a pair of bombs. Victor Carantini, his 2nd home run of the campaign, and Ryan Kreidler, his 3rd home run of the season. From there, AJ Blubaugh and Nate Pearson, fresh off the injury list, both on a scoreless inning. And for Joe Ryan, good start here. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Yandris Gomez, 2 shutout innings, and then Andrew Morris was able to supply a scoreless inning as well. The Braves just keep rocking and rolling, 9-1. They're able to take down the Miami Marlins as Jansen Jungle lived up to his name. 8 runs allowed in 5 innings, and he gives up a pair of bombs. Austin Riley, 8th home run of the season. Then Dom Smith, his 5th. From there, Tyler Phillips, 1 unearned run given up in 3 innings. Javier Sanja, that's a position player, shutout inning of his own. And Chris Sale, well, he did not sell here. 1 run allowed in 7 innings. And then you had 2 scoreless innings from the young gun and Victor Maderos to be able to close it out. Being able to close out their series with a win, the Walker Texas Rangers, 5-4. They take down the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Freeland, not long for this game, 3 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, gives up a pair of home runs. Jake Berger, his 9th home run of the season, and Ezekiel Duran, his 4th. From there, the bullpen was solid. Antonio Senzatella, 2 shutout innings. Jay Nill, he goes 1 1/3 innings scoreless. Brandon Bernardino does give up 2 runs, but catcher's interference call really costed him as the Rockies were up 4-3 in the 9th inning. He ends up taking the yellow. Juan Mejia, unable to hold inherited runners on base 2/3 of an inning, does not get credited with any runs that were allowed, but for Bernardino, a pair of unearned runs there. And then for Jack Leiter, gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. This Rangers bullpen is number 1 in terms of ERA, and they rolled from there. Jacob Junis, Tyler Alexander both give you a scoreless inning. Jacob Latz, 2 scoreless innings to be able to polish that one off. The Seattle Mariners get it done against the Chicago White Sox, 5-4 the final. Sean Burke not long for this game, but wasn't bad. 2 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. Sean Newcomb from there, 2 runs allowed in his 2 innings over Jordan Hicks. He gives up a solo home run in his 3rd of an inning going deep. Randy Arozarena off of him, 5th home run season. Then you did have home run number 1. This one came off of Sean Newcomb from the backup catcher and Johnny Parada. That's his first home run in quite some time, if ever. And from there, Brandon Eisert was able to give you a scoreless inning, and Emerson Hancock, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings For Seattle, you had an earned run given up in an inning by Edward Bizardo. Jose Ferrer gives up a solo home run to Randall Grichuk, his 4th home run of the campaign. But that said, you also had Matt Brash fresh off the injury list, Cooper Criswell, both be able to give you a scoreless inning. You had the Tampa Bay Rays once again get the job done, 5-3. They're able to take down the Baltimore Orioles as Steven Matz and Jesse Schulten's piggyback in this one. Schultens gives up 2 solo home runs in his 4 innings of work as Pete Alonso 9th home run season, Samuel Basayo his 7th. Steven Matz gives up a run in 4 innings. Ian Seymour from there shutout inning to be able to get the save, and the Wizard of Oz, Shane Baz, was not bad here. He gives up his home run in 6 innings of work as it was home run number 1 of the season from the backup catcher Hunter Fiducia. From there, you had a scoreless inning out of Tyler Wells, and Anthony Nunez completely blows the game. 4 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Uncle Rico Garcia, out of the bullpen scoreless. We had Ryan Vlade be able to steal home, so that was able to give a little bit of insurance for the Rays, and they do find a way to be able to persevere, get that one in. The Arizona Diamondbacks get this one in 6-3. They're able to take down the San Francisco Giants as Merrill Kelly starting to round back into form. 3 runs allowed in 6 innings. Casey Schmidt does take him deep, 9th home run of the season. From there, Brandon Garcia along with Taylor Clark combined for a scoreless inning. Brandon Pfaadt, Paul Sewald, they both give you a scoreless inning apiece, and Tyler Mahle, his rough season continues. 6 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, taken deep by Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 7th home run of the campaign. From there, Keaton Wynn, a shutout inning. Sam Hentges, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Yul Piguero was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and that polishes that one off. For the Washington Nationals, they get it done against the New York Mets. 8-4 the final as Zach Thornton in his MLB debut. This was not great. 4 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings as taken deep by C.J. Abrams. Welcome to the big leagues. 10th home run of the season. From there, Jacob Young, 6th home run of the campaign off of Craig Kimbrell, who I'm still stunned that he's getting innings. Kimbrell gives up 2 runs at 2 2/3 innings, including that bomb for Young, his 6th of the campaign. Austin Moore, he gives up 2 runs in his inning as well. And Zach Littell, not bad here. 2 runs allowed in 5 innings. He gives up a home run. Andrew Alvarez gives up 2 runs in 4 innings. He gave up a bomb as well, as both were to Juan Soto. 8th and 9th home runs of the season, but the Nationals now 25-25. So looking solid there for the Cleveland Guardians. They do a solid job getting the job done against the Detroit Tigers. 3-2 the final. Tanner Bybee just 1 run allowed over the course of 8 innings. From there, Eric Zabrowski, Colin Holderman, they combine for a shutout inning. Keith Smith does give up an unearned run in the 10th inning, but Guardians, they find a way to be able to get in the 10th inning to Will Vest along Tyler Holden. They both give up a pair of runs as Drew Anderson, 4 2/3 innings scoreless. From there, Kyle Finnegan, a shutout inning. Brad Herter, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Kenley Jansen, a scoreless 8th, and then Vest gives up a run in the 9th inning that leads to the 10th inning, and Tyler Holden gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned. So Guardians, they find a way to be able to pull this one out. The Brewers, they find a way to be able to pull this one out. 5-0. The Brewers are able to get the job done as you had a little league home run in this one for David Hamilton. There was a nice error, I believe, by Pete Crow Armstrong, so that's not great. Actually, you had a pair of errors as well from Carson Kelly as well. So this was just a bunch of different issues in general here for the Cubs, as Edward Cabrera lasts only 3 innings. He gives up 4 runs, only 1 of which was earned, very much hurt by his fielding. From there, the bullpen was fine. Trent Thornton and Hobie Milner combined for 3 scoreless innings. He had Phil Matone give up a run in 2/3 inning. Ryan Rolson, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Daniel Palencia, pair of outs of the bullpen scoreless, and Kyle Harrison, he just rolled in this one. 11 punch-outs and 7 shutout innings. D. alternate up all, pair of scoreless innings, and the Brewers, they get the sweep of the Cubs. So myself being a Milwaukee Brewers fan, that one makes me very happy. The Boston Red Sox get a win over the Kansas City Royals by a count of 4-3. Connolly early, well, he was early for giving up home runs. He did in the first inning to Salvador Perez, 8th home run in the campaign. A little bit later on, home run number 2 to Elias Diaz as he gives up 3 runs in 6 1/3 innings, but bullpen from there holds it down. Greg Weissert, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Giovanni Morin in out of the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman, scoreless 9th inning, and Michael Wacha, solid start here. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 6 innings, and the Royals bullpen has struggled this year, and Steven Cruz did. He gives up a home run to Jaron Duran, 6th home run in the campaign, 2 runs a total in 2/3 of an inning. Daniel Lynch, scoreless inning. Alex Lang, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, but damage by then, it had very much been done. The Dodgers win by a count of 4-0 over the Slam Diego Padres. Randy Vasquez, not long for this game, 3 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings, gives up a home run as Shohei Ohtani. He pitched in this game 5 shutout innings, and he also got his 8th home run of the campaign. And Teoscar Hernandez a little bit later on off of Ron Marinaccio, 6th home run of the campaign. Marinaccio gives up that home run in 1 2/3 innings. You had Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui combined for 3 shutout innings, and then you had Edgar Enriquez Enriquez, Blake Trine, Kyle Hurt, along with Wolves, all turn scoreless innings. You were able to get a W out of the Pittsburgh Pirates, this by a count of 7-0 as they take it to the Cardinals with Michael McGreevy giving up 10 hits, only 3 runs over the course of 5 innings for the Pirates. They do strand 11 men on base, but more than enough for Carmen Bolzinski. 5 shutout innings. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez, Justin Lawrence, Dennis Santana, Evan Sisk, all lend scoreless innings for the Cardinals. He had 2 shutout innings from Justin Burrow, but Matt Zavancin continues to be terrible. 4 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning, and then you had 4 outs of the bullpen scoreless from Push It with Matt Pusher. That's a great name, by the way. And in a shocker to absolutely nobody whatsoever, the Angels find a way to upchuck defeat from the jaws of victory as the Athletics, they do find a way in 10 innings to be able to get the job done in this one. This by a count of 6-5 as for the Athletics, Aaron Savali, he experienced some regression here. 5 runs allowed in 5 innings. Trio of home runs. Orde Soler, 9th home run of the campaign. You had Josh Lowe get low for his 5th home run of the season. Joe Adell sets fire to the rain, 7th home run of the season. From there, the bullpen was nails. Mark Leiter Jr., Scott Barlow, Hogan Harris. I'll give you a scoreless inning. Luis Medina, 2 scoreless innings. And Jack Kachanowicz does walk 4, but he manages to get through 6 innings, gives up 3 runs, and then the bullpen happened from there. Ryan Zephyrian, a run allowed in 1/3 of an inning. Sam Bachman, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Kirby Yates, he gives up a home run in 2/3 of an inning as Jeff McNeil in the 9th inning with his team down a run forces extras with his 2nd home run of the campaign. Taylor Cicero from there and out of the bullpen scoreless. Chase Silseth gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning. So the Athletics find a way to be able to persevere, get the job done there, and also being able to get the job done. How about the Toronto Blue Jays? 2-1 over the New York Yankees. Cam Schlittler and Trey Savage were both great in this game. Schlittler gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. It actually raises his ERA to a 1.50. Savage, 6 shutout innings. From there, Mason Flaherty, Jeff Hoffman, they both combined for a scoreless inning. You had Tyler Rogers lend a scoreless inning. Louis Varland, he does give up a run in an inning, but by then the damage had been done. Jake Bird, a shutout inning, and you did have 2 scoreless innings as well from Giovanni Cruz, the MLB debut for him, but the Yankees unable to pull this one out. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it still has been an overwhelming season, but we've been seeing quite a bit more balance with regards to these totals over the last 7 days. The over rate is 50.1% over the last 30 days, 50 overs, 46 unders, and 4 pushes along the way. Meanwhile, in terms of favorites, they're hitting at 56.2% on the money line over the last 7 days, 54 and 42. There have been a few pick'em games as well, with grand total 14 of those teams not being able to cover the run line. Season to date, favorites sitting right around about 56%, so it's on line with that. 405 and 318 on the money line, but you've also seen 89 of those favorites not cover the run line. Meanwhile, in terms of totals, the over hitting at 50.8%. 366 overs, 355 unders, and along the way, I believe we're up to now 21 pushes. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Come even next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Scott Reichel aboard. He's doing such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. And really, he's stuffing the stat sheet. He's doing a little bit of everything, whether that be taking a look at baseball, whether that be taking a look at tennis, NBA, WNBA, you name it. He's doing it over there at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He dives in on some football as well, and you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Reichel Radio. That is all together, and last name is spelled Reichel. And Scott, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Always great to have you aboard. And Scott, we are coming close to the 2-month marker. A lot of people, they always say that once you reach Memorial Day, you really have a true feel for what these teams are. And just what have you made out of the baseball season thus far? Because I think early on, it was a lot of struggles for a lot of teams like the Phillies and the Mets, but now it feels like things have really started to normalize here the last few weeks.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing is mainly, I'd say the keyword is sample size or phrase, because you're looking at, once again, about 2 months plus of, I'd say, data to apply to every team. You're starting to see which teams are separating themselves as being solid teams and which teams are starting to become, I'd say, the bottom feeders that we thought they were going to be. So I feel like it's mainly just based on the amount that we've actually seen these teams play on a day-to-day basis. You're starting to get some tiers in place.
Yep, I certainly do think so. And I still find it very interesting what we're finding on the American League right now, because I think that the American League really has a big giant hodgepodge of teams that are in the middle. And I really do feel like the Rays have separated themselves as that number 2 team. I feel like the Yankees are number 1, but how do you take a look at an American League where it just feels like outside the Yankees and the Rays, there's been a lot of inconsistency thus far this season?
Well, it's been the issue that we've had for a couple of years at this point, because it feels like whichever team comes out of the American League, I know Toronto was so close to winning the World Series last year, but it feels like right now the National League is just a lot deeper than the American League, at least in terms of if you want to put quotes around World Series contenders, then you can. Tampa, I think most people thought wasn't going to be that great this season, but Tampa's found a way and they keep winning. I had them again today, which worked out. So either way, Tampa keeps finding ways to win games. I think most people wouldn't exactly pick them to win the World Series, but of course, they've been an elite team so far. The Yankees, they've been very good, but then again, the record against teams above 500 has left a lot to be desired. But yes, for the most part, the AL we've seen for the last couple of years be relatively weak, and we've seen Toronto regress. We've seen Seattle regress, at least so far this season. We'll see if they step it up, but as of right now, it feels like the National League is once again much better than the American League.
Yep, no question about it. It's something that I've been finding as well, and I do think that's going to be interesting to see if this continues moving forward. And with regards to that American League, is there a team or two that you think has a possibility to be able to ascend? Because I feel like there's a lot of teams that they do one thing great, like the Rangers, for example. I really love their pitching, and boy, oh boy, they can't hit to be able to save their lives. You've got a team like the Cleveland Guardians that you still have question marks with their offense, even though it's been a little bit better here recently. But is there a team or two that you think has a chance to be able to build themselves up, and it might be one of those teams that is able to climb towards the middle part of the season?
Well, if we're going for solely based on upside to be a team that could potentially win the pennant, I think it's got to be Seattle. If I had to pick one team that's been underwhelming, despite being 3 games under 500, they're only 1.5 back of first place, because the entire AL West is pretty atrocious. So Seattle might find themselves, even playing decent baseball, finding a way to win the division with even like 87 wins. Like, that's going to be a pretty ugly division race at the end. But Seattle, we saw get close last year. Of course, they ended up losing to Toronto in painful fashion. They have the pitching. We already knew that. The offense has been a bit underwhelming. Of course, now Raleigh's injured. He was pretty horrible this season to begin with, but of course we know what the upside is based on last year. So I think if I had to go for one team right now that's below 500 that I think could find themselves surging into maybe a dark horse candidate to win the AL pennant, I'm going to go with Seattle. But once again, they got to fix the offense a bit more than what we've seen so far.
Yep, no question about it. As we do have Scott Reichel, he does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and no doubt about it, it's going to be interesting to see what we get out of some of these American League teams moving forward. And the Cleveland Guardians have really been that number 3 team thus far. They're a slight underdog against the Detroit Tigers, with Casey Mize and the Tigers about a minus 115 or so favorite. How do you take a look at this one? Because I do think that the Tigers have a little bit of upside as well. It's been a bit of a rough season for them, and I still do have some question marks with them moving forward, but I do think that this is one of those teams that might be able to make a little bit of a surge here towards the middle part of the season.
Yeah, so I'm going to respectfully disagree there. I just feel like the offense, yes, I know the entire division has a bunch of offenses that can't hit, which is kind of funny because they're all grouped together all the time. And right now it's 1-0 in the 8th inning, which sounds right on par. But I do have more of a doomsday vibe when it comes to Detroit, because after they had that massive lead against Cleveland in division last year, they've been bad for, you could argue, like 5 straight months, if you want to include last season. I'm wondering if Hinch is going to get fired mid-season. I know Skubal, of course, had a procedure done. I'm not sure when he's coming back. But for the matchup, I think Mize is better than Cantillo. But do I really want to lay 115 with Detroit? Not really. If both teams really can't hit that well, but Cleveland's offense at least has the occasional pulse, which I cannot say the same for Detroit. I don't mind the under in this game. I think we're going to see another low-scoring game. I think 7.5. I think the number is pretty reasonable. I'll go with the under. Even if Detroit does win, I see another low-scoring 4-2 type game. So I'm on the under for this one at 7.5.
Yep, I certainly can't blame you there. It's been a Tigers offense that has been very underwhelming, and they're dealing with a lot of injuries thus far this season. And for the Guardians, I do feel like Joey Cantillo has been quite good for them, and we always know that the bullpen pretty rock solid as well. As we do have our good friend Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And one thing that I feel like I'm not going too far out on a limb to say is that the Angels aren't very good once again this year, and shock, surprise, surprise there, but they do find themselves as about a minus 115 favorite against the Athletics and Luis Severino. Want to get your thoughts here because Jose Soriano has come back to earth a little bit, but still, he's been one of the very, very lone bright spots for this LA Angels team. Flip side, you do have a guy that I've really been liking here in Luis Severino on the road. Want no part of him at home. He's got massive home and road splits, but I think that this is an interesting one where I do think that for the Athletics, they're probably going to have a little bit of a tough time getting to Mr. Soriano.
Yeah, so if you want to go for the Angels, I don't mind the first 5 potentially in this game. But for the pricing alone, as you mentioned, Soriano has kind of fallen back down to earth. For the pricing, I'll go for the A's at around even money, around minus 102. The Angels, I understand with Soriano, of course, he can easily shove and they'll win a low-scoring game because Soriano just keeps this offense in check. But the A's offense is also pretty good. So I do think you're looking at a spot where the Angels offense, I'm not sure, does much against Soriano, which might against Severino, which might end up resulting in a first 5 under if you want to go for that route. Before the pricing, I do think the Angels being this bad of a team, I really don't feel comfortable laying 112 against right now a first-place team in the AL West, even though that division is a mess. I'll go for the A's, but I don't mind the first 5 under at around 4.5.
Yep, and I do think that the under is going to be my look as well in this game because I like what I've seen out of Severino on the road, not so much at home. And Jose Soriano, when he's not walking a bunch of guys like he did in his last start against the LA Dodgers, he's been pretty solid as well. And then certainly the NL Central race is going to be hot and heavy. We've got the Pirates and the St. Louis Cardinals who are going to be doing battle on Thursday with Braxton Ashcraft and the Pirates right around minus 125 favorites. That totals 7.5 to 8. Want to get your thoughts here because Dustin May has been much better after he had a shaky start to the season, but he's been way down with his strikeout stuff as well. Makes him a little bit hard to trust. And for Braxton Ashcraft, I feel like he's pitched really well, but it does feel like the Pirates have been a bit of a different offense away from home as well.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to go with the Cardinals here at home on the money line. I like the fact that it's plus money. I would acknowledge that the Cardinals right now are a lot better than Pittsburgh in the standings. They are currently about 4 games better, but the Pirates are quietly in last place in a pretty underrated NL Central, where the Cardinals are right now half a game back of Milwaukee for first place. Cardinals have been good. May had a really bad start to the season, and since then he's been good. The last 7 starts, a 2.83 ERA. Pittsburgh, though, has almost 4 straight games by 2+ runs. Cardinals are 4-1 in the last 5. They're also at home, where they're 13-11. I think May has been, I'd say, better over the last couple of weeks, and Ashcraft's fine, don't get me wrong, but I do think based on current form, the Cardinals should be at least a minus 110. Pick them against Pittsburgh. But plus 108, I don't agree with the price. So I'll go for the Cardinals money line.
Yep, I do think that there's a bit of value on the Cardinals. Needed a plus price to be able to get there myself, but I'm in full-fledged agreement with you there. And then with regards to this one, the Braves, they have really impressed me this far this season. And Spencer Strider, after he had a rough first start of the season, and that was at Coors, which that's always forgivable, he's been pretty rock solid. He and the Braves go up against Sandy Alcantara and the Marlins as about minus 140 favorites. Want to get your thoughts here because Alcantara is obviously able to give you a lot of length, but he's not getting a ton of strikeouts. He's been hit around a little bit more, and for the Braves, I've just been very impressed by this team in general.
They've had some injuries recently. Of course, Acuna came back, but Baldwin got injured, so they kind of just swapped at this point. But the Braves are minus 140. I understand it. I'm not saying I really love the price, but I understand why it's located where it is. I don't mind the first 5 under in this game. I think Strider's going to go pretty well. Historically, he's been very good against Miami. Alcantara, yes, the strikeout stuff's been down, but as you said, he still finds a way to eat a bunch of innings and pitch well. First 5 is going to be at 4. I like the under on that. I think Miami could get shut down. Atlanta could get shut down, or both teams do nothing, and it's 1-1. But I'll go for the first 5 under. I see a couple of paths to get there.
Yep, I do think so as well, and I think that that's a good look by you. And when it comes to this game, I think that this is a fun one as well, as we've got the Rockies and the Arizona Diamondbacks with a total of 9. Tobiyuki Sugano against Eduardo Rodriguez. Both guys have good have good ERAs, but both guys I just see a lot of regression with in general, looking at the fielding independent numbers, looking at the way that they give up contact in general. Not sure how you look at this game, but I recognize that the Rockies have a little bit of a tough time hitting away from home. I think that this could be a sneaky spot for the over.
Yeah, so I like Arizona minus 1.5 at plus 112. I don't mind the over as well. Erod's been fine this season. Even that start he had against the Rockies and Coors, he wasn't terrible in that one. Sagano, though, he doesn't strike anybody out. Sagano does give up a lot of contact. He has struck out less than 3 people in 4 straight starts, and he's been getting hit around a little bit. He's allowed 4 home runs over the past 3 starts. He was good against Arizona in his last outing, but I do think Arizona's offense, of course, as we've seen for the last couple of days, has woken up. Then again, facing the Giants might help out with that. But the point is Arizona has won 4 in a row. They're 2 games over 500. I think Erod should pitch pretty well at home here. The Rockies have really not been great recently against lefties this season, as the Rockies right now have the 4th lowest WRC plus against lefties in the league. They're 9-16 straight up on the road. We see this every year. They're terrible away from Coors. I'll go for the hot bets here. Give me Arizona minus 1.5 at plus 112.
Yep, I think that's a relatively good look as well. And is there anything else that you might be looking at on the baseball card for Thursday? I recognize it's a relatively small card, but I think that we've got a fun one as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Toronto, a first 5 team total over 1.5 runs at minus 120. Rodon's pitching for the Yankees. He has really not been good this season, a 5.63 ERA, walks a ton of guys. He has a walk rate of 21.1%, which is abnormally high. Plus, the Blue Jays have been great against him, historically speaking. 118 plate appearances the active batters have against him, a 364 on base percentage, and 12 extra base hits. So Toronto's done damage against Rodon consistently. Yes, the offense has not really been great this season by expectations. In the first 2 games against the Yankees, though, they've been fine. They fell short in both games in terms of winning, but the offense got going, and Rodon really can't find the strike zone more often than not. 1.5 is a very low number. Give me Toronto first 5 team total over 1.5 at minus 120.
I like that look. And Scott, I know that you're doing an amazing job looking at the sport that we all know and love of baseball. You're dialed in on a little bit of everything, whether that be basketball, whether that be baseball, whether that be the WNBA. List goes on and on. So love to get people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yep. So find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. You can also find me on SGPN. Bunch of free podcasts there. Tennis podcasts. I have a prop show as well. Also doing baseball, basketball, you name it, WNBA. Plus, I also do a solo NBA show on Steady Picks YouTube channel, so find that there. But all my picks are free. Find it all on Twitter at Reichel Radio.
And Scott is doing an incredible job looking at this great sport of baseball, and every single time he joins me, lends such great insight. So big thanks to Scott for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Scott Reichel. He's doing such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. He does a great job on the basketball front, the football front, tennis, and so much more. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So a big thanks to Scott for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. We're going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go through National League games first in time order, then the American League games. If we had inter-league games, they'd be at the bottom, but we don't have any, so that'll keep things nice, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. The Pirates are on the road against the Cardinals. Dustin May hopes that it's May Day for the Buccos, and Braxton Ashcraft hopes to not be a load of Ashcraft for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh minus 120 to minus 130 favorites, plus 105 to plus 110. That number on St. Louis, 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 8, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And then on the 7.5, over is minus 120. Under is even, and in this one, I'm going to be willing to side with Cardinals. Was willing to take a plus 108 or better for Dustin May. It's been a case where the swing of his stuff has been way down this season, but after that horrendous start to the season, he's been much better recently. He has now given up 3 earned runs or fewer in pretty much each out of his last 5 starts. He's got a 4.81 ERA, but fielding dependent more around about a 3.85, 0.7 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, but is going to pitch a contact with only about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And then for Braxton Ashcraft, he has been very solid for this Pittsburgh Pirates team, as right now he's flying an ERA of about a 3.09, fielding dependence in line with that, with the 3.19, 0.8 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings. And when it comes to this Pirates lineup, you do have a pair of guys from Brandon Lau, O'Neal Cruz, who will be able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, and got a pair of guys that have been able to do a solid job moving the line. Brian Reynolds, Spencer Horwitz, both giving you above a 375 on base, and Colin Griffin has really picked it up after a slow start to the season. Not a lot of deep ball. He's only hit like 2 or 3 home runs, but he's been able to give you about a 270 average, so like that. And for the Cardinals, this is a top 10 team in terms of run creation. Both of these teams are actually in the top 10 in terms of run scoring, even though Victor Scott has been a little bit rough at the bottom of the lineup, and I know that Mason Wynn has been in and out of the lineup, but should be good for this game. You've got Alec Burleson give you a 350 on base. JJ Weatherholt has given you 8+ home runs. He's up to about a 370 on base. Ivan Herrera doing a good job moving the line. Big trepidation that you do have with the Cardinals. This bullpen has been a bottom 10 team in terms of ERA. George Soriano has been okay, but I don't have a lot of faith in him. Ryan Stanek, Matt Advance, and man, these guys have both given you above a 5.50 ERA, but Riley O'Brien's been solid. Jojo Romero seems to be able to do a good job as well. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, they've been a little bit wobbly with their bullpen as well. Dana Santana has not been what he was a season ago. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez, has been messed with, as he's got about a 3.67 ERA. Evan Sisk has been relatively solid, so do think that you get enough scoring for the over. Set my money line price at a minus 107 on the Pirates, so plus 108 or better. And on the Cardinals, made that total an 8.1, so do like the over. 903, 904 on the card. It's the Mets. They're going to be on the road against the Washington Nationals. We do know that Cade Cavalli is going to be going for the Nationals. This should be a bulk appearance from David Peterson. We don't know if he'll start or if he'll be coming out of the bullpen, and many books have made the Mets between minus 110 to a minus 115, anywhere between minus 104 to a minus 110 is that number on Washington, and the total is between 8 to 8.5. On the 8, over is minus 115, under is minus 105. Meanwhile, with the 8.5, under is minus 120, and the over is even money. Set the Mets at a minus 111. So if we can get a minus 110 or better, I will be in on them. For David Peterson, it's been a no good, very bad, terrible season, but since they've been throwing him out of the bullpen, he's looked quite a bit better. The ERA saw 5.40, but still, he has given up just 4 earned runs over his last 3 bulk appearances, so that's been a good thing. And he does have a 298 fielding independent. He's giving up 0.4 home runs. He's getting 9.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been incredibly unlucky thus far this season. You look at the batting average on balls in play, that is right now hovering right in the neighborhood of about a 366, and that is just absolutely ridiculous, to say the least. Meanwhile, for Cade Cavalli, he's been able to do a nice job with his swing and miss stuff thus far this season. 3.5 walks per 9 innings is a bit of concern, but 10 strikeouts per 9, 4.05 ERA, 3.39 fielding independent, and he is backed up by the inferior bullpen, because I like what Austin Warren, Brooks Raley, Oscar Brisbane have been able to give this Mets team. They've been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA, and when it comes to Cianel Perez, he's just not a guy they can trust in for the Washington Nationals. Now, PJ Poulin has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Paxton Schultz has been relatively solid in this bullpen as well, but still, it's a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, for the Washington Nationals, numero uno in terms of run creation, and they were able to put up some nice runs yesterday. You've got James Wood along CJ Abrams. These two guys have been able to supply you with 23 home runs. Both of these guys are giving you over 370 on base, and then Dylan Cruz coming back to the lineup. He should be able to help out this team. Recognize that he was shaky 2025, but I think that he'll break out this season. You had Dallin Lyle hit about a 265. You've been able to get a little bit more of something as well out of some of these ancillary guys like a Luis Garcia and company. And for the Mets, this does continue to be a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. They've obviously been better since Juan Soto can return to the fold. 9 home runs, 390 on base, but he's pretty much the lone guy other than MJ Melendez, who has seen over 75 at bats. Now, was in the starting lineup yesterday, hitting for above a 320 on base. For Melendez, about a 325 on base. And I will say Carson Benjay now hitting above a 260. That's good for this lineup as well. So they're starting to round into a little bit of better form there. I do think that you're going to be able to get runs up on the board in this game, because the Nationals, they just have been hitting all season long, but we'll lay up to a minus 110 with regards to the Mets on the money line. And with regards to the total, I'm at 8.6, so at an 8.5 or less, I'm going to be in on the over. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Braves. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Miami Marlins. Sandy Alcantara goes for the fish, and Spencer Strider is on the bump for the Bravos, and the Braves are anywhere between minus 134 to minus 142 favorites. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, between plus 115 to a plus 125 is your number on the Miami Marlins. Total is 7.5. The over is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. And we're Spencer Strider and the Braves. I did set this money line at a minus 146. I'm going to be willing to take a shot here. For Strider, he had that rough first start of the season against the Colorado Rockies. That's going to happen when you pitch at Coors Field. Ever since that, he has been absolutely remarkable. I believe that he's given up one earned run since that start. He's been able to give you some good length. The swing and miss stuff is back. 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Still needs to work on the walks. Career 3.3 walks per 9 innings. He's up to 6 walks per 9 innings thus far, but again, very small sample size. It does look like he is just in a way better form than he was in 2025 at any point, so that's big. I don't know if he's quite back to peak form, but he's looking good. And for Sandy Alcantara, he's really not getting a lot of swings and misses. Now, he does a great job in terms of going deep into games. Right now, he's been able to fill 63 and 2/3 innings in his 10 starts. That's a top 5 mark in all of baseball. But he only gets about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Does a great job in terms of inducing soft contact, 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, but now has to go up against an Atlanta Braves team that is number 2 in all baseball in terms of run creation. They've got Ronald Acuna Jr. back, and that's just a very scary prospect for all of baseball in general. They already dealt with the injury to Drake Baldwin, so that hurts them, but I mean, still, you've been able to get really good production out of Matt Olson, who's now been able to give you 13 plus home runs at 360 on base. Michael Harris hitting just below 300. He's been able to give you some boom. Austin Riley appears to be rounding back in form. He dealt with injury throughout all of last season. He's up to 8 home runs thus far this season. Dom Smith continues to hit above a 300. Mauricio Dubon continues to move the line. Ozzie Albies has been great, and for the Miami Marlins, this is a bottom 8 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, so do have Xavier Edwards, who's been able to give you a little bit of boom. Main guy has been Liam Hicks. He's been able to supply 9 home runs. Pretty much nobody else gives you over 6, but I mean, with Hicks, he's been able to hit about a 280 for the team, 350 on base. Xavier Edwards out of Lopez, these guys running above a 300. Now, you need more out of Esteury Ruiz, Roberto Hernandez, Juan Casey. These are guys give you less than a 275 on base, less than a 210 batting average, but I do like what I've seen out of the bullpen as well. They've been a top 10 unit in terms of bullpen ERA. Calvin Fauché, Anthony Bender got off to rough seasons. Both are now below a 380 with their ERA. John King has been the king of giving you a sub-3 ERA along Tyler Phillips. Andrew Nardi's been a little bit rough still along Pete Fairbanks, but Fairbanks coming off the injury list should be looking a little bit better moving forward. And for the Braves, this continues to be a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Kinley's above 350 ERA right now, but Ronaldo Lopez should be able to get the same reinforcements. Robert Suarez, Raciel Iglesias have been great in the back half of games, and Dylan Lee, sub-1 ERA as well. So I do think that Strider goes out there, gets the job done, and I do think that they get to Alcantara just enough for the over. Semi-total 7.7, so do like the over. And for the Braves, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 145 on that money line. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Rockies. They're going to be on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Saints, and Tomoyuki Sugano is on the bump for the Rockies. And the Rockies who find themselves anywhere between plus 150 to plus 160. Meanwhile, minus 180 to minus 190 is that number on Arizona, and the total is 9. The over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. Looking at that run line of Arizona, right now I'm finding that at a plus 112. I was willing to go up to a minus 105 here. Now, I do think that both of these pitchers are doing for quite a bit of regression. You take a look at Sugano, right around about a 402 or so with that ERA. The fielding independent, though, is a 550. He's given up 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. He's only getting about 4.8 strikeouts per 9 as well. And Rodriguez is pitching to a lot of contact as well. 6.6 strikeouts, 3.7 walks per 9 innings. Now, he's doing a great job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. Less than 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. Now, he goes up against a Rockies team that is going to be, shall we say, hurt a little bit by coming down from elevation. You always notice big home and road splits for the Rockies, and they were playing at Coors yesterday, so that hurts them quite a bit. And typically, the on-base percentage for the Rockies is like 75 to 80 points lower when they're away from home rather than at home. But got a guy in Jake McCarthy who's been a really nice pickup and a former Diamondback, giving you about a 350 on base. Mickey Moniak, double-figure amount of homers, 340 on base. You've been able to get good production out of Hunter Goodman with a double-figure amount of homers this season. Tristan Freeman, TJ Romfield, they've been able to move line, hang above 260 now. Likes of Edouard Julien, Ezekiel Tovar. You got a lot of guys that just are not providing too much whatsoever at the bottom of the lineup. Meanwhile, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they've been more of a league average team in terms of run creation, but with the Saints, I do think that Lourdes Gurriel and Ketel Marte are going to be able to get it going a little bit more. Both of these guys have been rough to begin the season, but Marte had a nice walk-off homer against the San Francisco Giants in that series, and Gurriel has been able to get it going a little bit more with regards to the power. Meanwhile, Guillermo Vargas has had a career year, hitting above 300. He's up to 7+ home runs this season. You need a bit more out of of some of these guys like Geraldo Perdomo, along Gabriel Moreno, that typically hit above a 250. And for the Diamondbacks, it is a shaky bullpen to say the least. They're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but you've had Juan Murillo, Ryan Thompson be able to give you sub 350 ERA. Don't really trust in Paul Sewald at the closer spot, but Jonathan Loaiza has been relatively solid. Flip side, you've got a Colorado Rockies unit that has went down the toilet bowl a little bit with their bullpen, and Antonio Sensatella got used yesterday, and that's big because he's actually been really good coming out of this bullpen, but now Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Herget are on the injured list. You got the likes of Jaden Hill, Juan Mejia and company. These guys have been providing an ERA that's more in the neighborhood about a 375. Brennan Bernardino was a solid pickup, in my opinion, during the offseason as well, but for the Colorado Rockies, do think that it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for them, and I do think that Rodriguez gets it around a little bit, but I think Sugano experiences a big regression, so like the over of 9, and with the Diamondbacks willing to lay up to a minus 105 on the run line, so getting plus money, going to be looking there. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Guardians. They're going to be on the road against the Tigers as Casey Mize goes for the Tigres, and Joey Cantillo is on the bump for Cleveland. Cleveland is a small underdog here. You're going to be getting them between even money to plus 105. Meanwhile, minus 108 to minus 115. That number on Detroit, 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 115. Over is minus 105 to a minus 110. I do like the Tigers here. I set them at a minus 132. For Casey Mize, he has been very rock solid. Missed a few starts due to injury towards the beginning part of the season, but 243 ERA, 268 fielding dependent, half a home run allowed per 9, and he's 9.5 strikeouts per 9. He has been rock solid for a Tigers team that actually matches the Cleveland Guardians with regards to bullpen ERA. Both of these teams have been a little bit up down all around, and yesterday's game went to extra innings, so he did have quite a bit of the Tigers bullpen burnt up there, but likes of Kyle Finnegan, Bryant Herter were used for fewer than 15 pitches. You've had Tyler Holton and Will Vest be a little bit shaky, but Vest coming off the injury list, that helps his team out quite a bit. And for the Guardians, Sander Bybee was able to fill 8 innings, so that's really going to be a lot about this bullpen. You've got Colin Olderman, Eric Zabrowski, both give you a sub 2 ERA. Hunter Gaddis has been shaky this year, began the season on the injured list, but it does look like he's going to be able to round into form sooner rather than later. And for the Guardians, they've been more of a league average team with their run creation thus far this season. Travis Bazzana, since coming up to the big league level over a 400 base, I like what I'm seeing there. You expect a little bit more of the superstar bats, so like Jose Ramirez is sitting at 235. He still give you 363 on base, but expect a bit more there. Kyle Manzardo, Reese Hoskins, these are guys sitting below the middle line of a 200 in the case of Hoskins, more like a 222 for Manzardo, but neither guy's really been able to give you a lot of boom. But Brian Rocchio is up to a 366 on base. You actually have Austin Hedges hitting a little bit this year. Stephen Kwan has been awful, but Daniel Sheeman has been able to pick up the slack. Meanwhile, for the Tigers, Kevin McGonigal, Riley Green, these guys have been able to give you over a 385 on base. Cole Keith is hitting about a 280. The power has not really been there, and you need more out of Spencer Torkelson sitting right around the middle line of 200. He hasn't necessarily been able to hit for a lot of power, and right now your main man in terms of being able to hit the deep ball, you've been able to get 8 home runs this far this season out of Mr. Dylan Dingler, but the mix and match guys towards the bottom of the lineup have been a little bit rough, but I do think that for Casey Mize, goes out there, gives you a relatively good start, and I do think that Joey Cantillo is doing for a little bit of regression, which is a big reason why I am in on the over for Cantillo. He has seen a dip in his swing and miss stuff. Last year, he was getting about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's down to about 8 this season, and he's still giving up 4.3 walks per 9 innings, 340 ERA, but a 437 fielding dependent. So, like that 7.5 to the over. And for the Tigers, I'm going to be willing to lay that money line as well. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Blue Jays. They're going to be on the road against the Yankees. Carlos Rodon is on the bump for the Yankees, and it is all to be determined who's going to be on the bump for the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a game that's presently off the board, and that's because we don't know if we're going to get Spencer Miles as the actual starter or if he's going to be an opener. He should be pitching in bulk in this game, though, and with that being the case, I was willing to take pretty much even money or better with regards to the Yankees on the run line. Right now, I'm seeing that between plus 125 to plus 130. I'm going to be willing to take a shot there, assuming that you do get Miles in some form or capacity. He's actually been solid this year. 255 ERA, fielding dependence a hair above a 3. He's been relatively solid in terms of keeping things out in front of him, not giving up a lot of home runs and walks, but he's pitched less than 27 innings this year. He's pitching less than 2 innings per appearance. He has not went past 3 2/3 innings, so that means that you're going to get a poo-poo platter of pitchers here for the Blue Jays. Now, they bring back Uriel Rodriguez, who's been a little bit of a long guy for them over the last few seasons, and you've got a trio of guys there like Braden Fisher, Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland. These guys are giving you a sub-350 ERA, but when you rely upon guys like Jeff Hoffman and company, that's just not a place where you want to be. Meanwhile, for the New York Yankees, we've had Camilo Doval be awful. He's been posting up an ERA above a 5, and man, David Bednar has been pooping the Bednar for them recently, but the likes of Brent Hendrick have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Tim Hill, along with Fernando Cruz, these guys have been able to do a good job as well, and for the Yankees, Yankees. They're averaging 6.5 runs per game in their home games as far this season. That is numero uno in all of baseball. Obviously, Ben Rice and Aaron Judge have been able to carry the team. Both of these guys have been able to supply you with 15 plus home runs, right around about a 390 to a 400 on base. Cody Bellinger continues to move the line, about a 380 on base, and Paul Goldschmidt is turning back the clock. I recognize that he hasn't played necessarily a full allotment of games this far, but in 24 games of the at-bats, 5 bombs at about a 385 on base going into yesterday. Now, you need a little bit more on some of these infielders. Obviously, Jazz Chisholm hitting below a 235, Ryan McMahon, the catcher spot. You need a little bit more there, but that's up and out the lineup. And for the Blue Jays, this team has been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Kazuma Okamoto has 10 home runs, and he's like the only guy in the roster with about 5 home runs. Don't call his name Alejandro Kirk being on the injured list has hurt this team, as we've got Brandon Valenzuela, Andres Jimenez, Alonso Komodo hitting it right around about a 232, 240. Like, you've got plenty of guys that are moving the line, getting on base. You've had Vlager Jr. continue to give you a 370 on base, but only 3 home runs out of him. Hendrik Pinago has been able to above a 300. You've had Miles Straw, Ernie Clement do a solid job there, but they're just not supplying a lot of boom. I do think that they can get to Carlos Rodon a little bit here, because for Rodon, he's only pitched 8 innings as far this season, began the first month and a half or so of the season on the injured list, and he has seen his swing and miss stuff come back. He's over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, but over a 5 ERA because he has given up 8 walks in 8 innings. So I do like the over. Sub by total at 8.9. And for the Yankees, pretty much any sort of plus money, I'm in on that run line. Wrap things up with 9:13, 9:14 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Angels. Jose Soriano is on the bump for the Halos, and Luis Severino is on the bump for the Athletics. The Athletics are in a relatively pick'em game here. You're going to be getting them between even money to minus 110, minus 105 to a minus 116. That number on Halos, 8 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8.5, under is minus 120. The over is even on the 8. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And set at 12 at 7.6. I do like the under. Luis Severino has had big time on the road splits since coming to Sacramento. Overall for the season, a 5.45 ERA. He's given up about 5.1 walks per 9 innings, but 3.56 road ERA, 5.55 home ERA thus far this season. And for Soriano, he is giving up over 3 walks per 9 innings, but 2.41 ERA, 10.1 strikeouts, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, going up against the Sacramento A's team that has been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. Certainly, they've been able to get it going here over the last few days, and Brent Rooker was dealing with injury towards the beginning part of the season, and he's starting to look a little bit more like his normal self. He's back hitting to a 200 or better, so he's been able to give you now 7 home runs and our 20 at-bats, and Shea Langoliers, Shea is banged for 12 home runs. He's hitting over a 300. Carlos Cortez continues at above a 300, and Henry Bolte, since getting called up to the big league level, he's been solid as well. You get back Zach Aloff, so this is a pretty fearsome lineup, and I have an Angels team that right now they're averaging 3.1 runs per game at home. That is a bottom 3 mark in all of baseball. You've had Zach Neto be able to heat it up a little bit after he was cold for about a month or so. He had that walk-off homer in the JT Ginn almost no-hitter game, but Joe Adell sent fire to the rain, 6 home runs, hitting at 250. Nolan Schunel sitting at 250. Obviously, Mike Trout over a 400 base, 12 home runs, but these guys like Logan O'Hoppe, Josh Lowe, Yoan Moncada, you're getting absolutely nothing out of them whatsoever. Vaughn Grisham doesn't really give you a lot of power. He's been up and down, and Jorge Soler seems to be toil pulling once again. Now, the big trepidation that you got for the Angels, how much of this bullpen are you going to need to use? They're in the bottom 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. Like when you're throwing out there Alek Manoah out of the bullpen, you're going the wrong way down a one-way street. Kirby Yateson's coming off the injury list as over a 4 ERA. Ryan Zefrian has been all over the place this year with about a 4.50 ERA. Jay Silseth has been solid along Sam Bachman, but Brent Suter looks a little bit washed. And then on the flip side for the Athletics, a presentable bullpen. Not great, not terrible. You've got these guys like a Luis Medina, Jack Perkins, Joe Kunal. Other than Perkins, all these guys have been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Throw in there Scott Barlow as well. I have absolutely no faith whatsoever in Mark Leiter Jr. He is absolutely awful, to say the least, but I do think that both of these starters go out there, give you a good start. Semi-total 7.6, like the under, and I have faith that Soriano is going to give you a good start. I set the Angels at a minus 118, like them on this pick'em line, on the money line, and I do like the under. That'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Scott Reichel, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game every day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.